Hi, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Building a Harmonious Family with Nevena Bajalac. And today, my guest is Dani Hakim, and Dani is based here in Dubai. And I'm very excited, and then you have to stay till the end of this episode because Dani will share with us her parenting journey and some struggles that she experienced specifically with anxiety. Dani is a proud mother of two. She is a co-founder of Safe Space, which is social agency that makes impact and really focuses on mental health. So Dani, welcome to the show and thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to have a conversation with you.
It's my pleasure. So tell me, Dani, let's start before you were a mom. I always ask that, where were you in which space you were? Tell us a little bit more also about your work and what are you passionate about? And then tell us some challenges you started experiencing as a parent.
So it's funny because me and my husband always refer to the period before children as the good old days. We look back at them quite fondly. Our life was quite different. My background's in advertising, so I've always worked in a very kind of like high-powered, very creative environment, and blessed to work with some brilliant clients, but focused mainly on the healthcare industry for the last 6 years. But I've always been a very kind of outgoing, very active, always have lots of things planned, whether it's kind of like friendship, social stuff. So always like a very busy life. And really, I think working in the industry that I did, there was just a sort of an expectation to perform at a very high level all the time. So really that sort of work-life balance before children probably was a lot easier if I kind of look back. And wasn't as blurred. But really, I think even at that point, I'd always wanted children, but I was told that I wasn't going to be able to have children. And it was a big gap, let's say. It was something that I was really worried about. I very much overthought it. But actually, it turned out once we got married, we got pregnant immediately, which was a shock to everybody, and including myself. But very blessed, we couldn't believe that it was happening to us. And it really just felt that then I was in this like time warp and going from being kind of single, high flying, career girl to then becoming a mum was a real roller coaster. And if I'm being completely honest, I struggled so hard. I really felt out of my depth. I think because, again, being in Dubai as an expat mum, you're far away from your parents and your kind of support network in that sense. And on top of that, the lack of sleep, and I think my hormones were all over the place. I didn't enjoy it. I'm going to be very honest. I really didn't enjoy the process. I felt very overwhelmed. I felt very fearful. There was a lot that was kind of happening. And because maternity leave in Dubai is getting better, but it wasn't very good when I had my child nearly 6 years ago now. I was back at work within 7 weeks. And, I thought I was Superwoman. I thought I could handle this. I remember being on like a conference call between, there was like San Francisco on one line and Singapore on the other, juggling these time zones. I had like baby trying feeding, and that was a disaster. And it was just, I just had to keep going, keep my head down. And really what I was doing that whole time was just burying my head in the sand about what was really going on and how difficult I was really finding things, because I didn't want to admit to anybody that I was failing. It really felt like something that I'd wanted, that I was told that I couldn't have, that I finally was given, was granted my wish. And now it was like, there was times where I was like, I don't know if this is what I actually want. I think maternal mental health is a really kind of tricky space. We see all this imagery and of like new mums and how it's supposed to be. And Dubai has lots of Facebook groups and there's all this imagery of what it should be like. And I was not ticking any of those boxes at all. Like it was really, really rough. Very rough.
And I love that one of the reasons why I started this podcast is really wanting to hear real stories, because social media puts so much like a perfect image and everybody show just their good days. And I think it's very important to be open, important for us as a woman, as mothers, for parents, to really hear that others are going through this, and it's kind of normal. It's okay to go through it. But once you feel, well, usually we feel we're alone, so we feel like, oh, I'm the one failing. And you said I was failing. Well, there is no failing, right? It's just was leading you, okay, maybe you need more rest. Maybe you need to slow down, maybe, this pressure of really having the career and the motherhood and everything is just, it's a lot of pressure, and we don't have to take it sometimes. We just have to make a decision. So what is the next step? What did you do? What are some tools that you used, and how you overcome some of these struggles?
So I've always struggled with anxiety my whole life, but I have what I call a high functioning anxiety. Actually, my anxiety propels me through life. It gets me to potentially be the high achiever that I've always been. I'm always pushing for more. So I'm grateful for it in that sense. But I didn't at that point. I wasn't able to see things rationally, like, oh, exactly like you said, like I need to sleep more or rest. There wasn't even that option. It was just keep my head down, keep my job. I didn't want to let my team down. I didn't want to lose my job. This is important to be in Dubai and be sponsored and have visa and health insurance. Again, all that was doing was adding another layer of pressure to me. And by the time sort of Harvey was 6 months old, my health was in tatters, mentally, physically. And I remember just being at absolute breaking point. And I went to the doctors, and I was just trying to find the reason. I was like, it must be like hormones. I need to go and get some kind of blood test to figure out what this is. And it came back that I had no vitamin D, no iron in my system. My blood sugar wasn't kind of functioning well. I was heading towards a sort of pre-diabetic stage. And I was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
So if you can imagine, just for one moment, being literally face first in rock bottom, feeling the worst you've ever felt, and then getting told on top with no warning, like it literally miraculous conception. Even me and my husband are confused about how this happened.
You surprised me. I knew you had two, but I didn't expect this twist. So I can imagine how you felt. I was like, what?
And it was like, I came home and I was like, the tears were like horizontal. I was just like, I can't physically, I can't how like, this is just not possible. But it was the real U-turn that it was the only thing at that point that I think could have saved me, because I was just so focused on keeping everything under the surface to not let everybody see what was going on, that now there was somebody else growing inside me, that I had to take myself out of my world for a minute and start to think about us as a family and my unborn child and what that might look like. And it's ironic. I think the world does work in mysterious ways. Sometimes that was the most mysterious. But once I got over the shock, it was such a game changer for me. It really put everything into perspective. And I was like, no, I went part-time at work, which is unheard of, doing what I do in the setting. Like even work didn't know how to handle it. I was just like, this is what it's going to be. This is how I need. I was doing yoga every day. I was just, eating like an absolute goddess. Like when I actually found out that I always had this vision that I was going to be the mother of two boys. When I found out I was having a girl, that again was like another twist in the tail, because I just again didn't think that I was ever ready. I can't look after myself. How am I going to look after and be a role model to this young woman? Like it really, that was another element of sort of bit scary when I first thought about it. But again, just Jack propelled me into this journey of self-care, and really, she's my why. Both of my children are important, but she was the one that really turned everything on its head and put everything back into perspective.
Amazing. And you're more than amazing role model, I'll be honest. Like your positivity, your smile, and your sense of humor, it's just amazing. It's just that really that self-image that we build about ourselves and thinking that we're not good enough, we're not, and this really stops so many parents. And having those negative feelings towards ourselves and having that negative self-image, and then as a parent, that I'm sure you also experience a lot of guilt, a lot of different things when you want to balance your work. For me, I work also as a high performance family coach, so really for when people want to scale, it really affects your business, because when you go home and or you are at your work and you have guilt, you cannot perform and become a 7 income earner in your business or whatever and grow as much as you can if you really resolve some of those things. It's very powerful how they're interfered, or when we have arguments and fights and you are at work and you have to go home and like this not harmonious environment. It's very, very important. And I think sometimes we even prioritize, we either put one or another, we don't see this connection. And I can see through your story as well how important it was. So tell us now, you co-founded the agency. So what is it that you do? I love this story. I love that you support mental health. So can you tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, so essentially, through my journey, through having really poor mental health that was only worsened by the not just the single company I worked for, but just again the expected pace here. I really wanted to be part of a solution that challenged that and really kind of puts businesses and empowered employees to do better and to feel better. Like, work shouldn't be something that kills you. We need to change this narrative of, the hustle and the grind and, competing on how many hours we can work. Like, no. And I'm really kind of grateful that this past year has put a lot into perspective for people, in that sense. And essentially it's been a huge catalyst for the conversation around mental well-being. So super grateful for that too. And really at Safe Space, what we're doing is helping employers to maintain the mental well-being of their employees. We provide resources, workshops, programs, lots of different kind of solutions essentially to make that possible, but very much with the employee in mind, but also helping companies around their corporate culture. So consulting with them on how they can do better on maternity policies, how they can implement, better procedures when it comes to sort of the workday and work-life balance, because we spend so much of our time at work and it consumes the rest of our life if we're just constantly in fear of an email coming through or missing a deadline or what our boss is going to think about us, or if it's going to be, what we're working on is going to, the project's going to be extended, or whatever the challenge might be. It's just such a burden on our well-being, not just our mental health. They're not two separate things.
Yeah.
And we really want to change that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like you said, work should be something we enjoy. It's part of the growth, something we're inspired to do. But it really became, I'm living for the weekend. And for me, I'm coming from corporate world. And a couple of years ago, I decided this is not the life I wanted, because I was in education field and I saw all of these mothers, like you said, in Dubai, under so much pressure, who would break down, who would cry, who would, come and shout and scream on me when their child is sick and they have their boss who's telling them, oh, you're leaving your job again, and so on. So it was really difficult to watch and experience, and I was part of it. And I said, you know what, there must be a better way. I don't want this life, and I want to have this freedom. And I believe really we need to raise a little bit more awareness that family matters. And I think because men for so many years were on top, and they still are in a way on top of corporations, we as women have this need to compete. So we feel like we cannot show, that we are mothers. We shouldn't show that, we are caring. Well, men and fathers should also care. I'm sure you agree, right? Everybody, not just women, but men also have to put family equally and as a priority, and understand that this balance has to exist. So I think it's absolutely beautiful what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm really passionate about equaling the playing field. But it really is really important.
Yeah. So tell us, how can people reach out to you? And do you work with clients, or you work with only corporations? Tell us just a little bit more. We're going to make sure to put a link in the description of this podcast so people can also connect with you and your agency.
Yeah, so we predominantly work with companies. You'll find all the information at wearesafespace.com, but we also are rooted in the community. We started off life as a community meetup group. So we have regular sessions with the community, talks with authors, mental health professionals, experts, coaches in lots of different topic areas, essentially just really pulling apart very simple topics like work-life balance, sleep, nutrition, confidence, all these things that when they're out of balance in our life will cause us to feel stressed and anxious and overwhelmed. And all the information's on our website, or you can join our Facebook group, which is called Safe Space Social, and we have loads of great information for individuals in there too.
Absolutely. I will invite everyone to join your groups. And tell me, to wrap up this episode, what is one last advice you would give to parents who are listening and who are maybe going through some struggles? A lot of stress was put on families during COVID pandemic as well. Working from home was not as perfect with some young children, especially with young children, was not easy at all. And having their online schools and homeworks, and you have to be focused with your children screaming around and do work. So what is something that you would advise, or some tool maybe that you would give people or say to them who are listening?
So it's a bit of a complex one, but go to bed early. Just go to bed half an hour, even an hour earlier than you're currently doing. As soon as the kids go down, do what you need to do, but prioritize your bedtime routine. Forget about the little one's routine. Prioritize yours and get yourself sleeping. It's been the number one thing I think that's been disturbed without people just really underestimate the power of sleep, because everything comes from that. I could have told you a million different tools and tips and tricks, but actually if you're absolutely knackered, you're exhausted, the rest isn't going to work. So go to bed early.
I love it. It's so simple. And like you said, we underestimate it. And I think because we are so busy, we want to catch up. And then in the evening, we are like, oh, I want to be on social media. I want to watch movies. And we're just actually stimulating our brain to be more tired. So we are inviting you all listening and watching this, go to bed early and see your life change. Wow, Dani, this is an incredible episode. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being my guest. It was really valuable, and I'm sure listeners will agree. Thank you everyone for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.